Okay, Justin, I think we have a quorum anyway. I'll keep tracking as people are coming in, but I guess we're at 8:33, so we should probably get rolling, and we'll just have folks join as you go along.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for joining us this morning. I do wish that we could all be gathering together down at the Lake Cruise Pavilion. I suspect it would be much nicer than joining by Zoom, but as somebody who I had to quarantine earlier this week because I was exposed to a breakthrough case, I think doing this via Zoom was absolutely the right way to go and keep everyone safe and keep everyone healthy. As we get into that, Ian, do you want to start our slideshow?
Sure. Let me share the screen here.
Thank you. Thanks, Ian. As we start here this morning, I wanted to take a moment out before we begin our official business to just recognize and remember Tom Cowie. Tom was a long-serving, dedicated volunteer here at the Science Center. He was also our corporate board secretary. Tom was just a phenomenal voice at all of our board meetings. He was unbelievably helpful with the Holderness Inn and the purchase of the Lake Cruise property. And sadly, he was taken away from us far too soon. Only a few months into his retirement. It was really a terribly sad thing, but we all remember and are grateful for Tom and everything he's done here for us at the Science Center, including but not limited to, the man was absolutely phenomenal. Lawyers as corporate secretaries are wonderful because they keep wonderful minutes and make auditors very happy. And Tom did a phenomenal job with all of that for us. So we thank and remember Tom and keep his family in our thoughts and our prayers.
Amen.
Thank you. And with that, we can move to Tom's minutes, Ian. Hopefully, and I'm sure all of you have been reading them dutifully on our website, but here are the minutes of our meeting last summer, which was also conducted by Zoom. Any comments or questions on these minutes? Seeing no hands going up virtually or otherwise. We're going to do this with a show of hands. You can either lift your actual hand up or there's a little thing. Here we go. We'll do a thumbs up icon. You'll see that. So either by a show of hands or by the thumbs up icon, all of those who would vote to approve our minutes for this year. Thank you, Carl.
Where's my thumbs up icon?
you,
Seriously.
Yeah, you need to get out of there, Lori. She'd figure that out for you very quickly.
Okay.
So any objections? This Zoom stuff is fun to do. Seeing no objections, we'll consider the minutes of last year's board meeting approved. And then we will move in. We also have one retirement this year. I'll let Ian, there we go. Tony is, after 9 years on the board and 9 years chairing the educational committee. Tony is retiring off the board, but hopefully not the education committee this year. We've been lobbying him to stay on. Tony's influence on the Science Center has been tremendous and profound. Certainly to me on a personal level, to you too, I suspect, Lori, in that my two children have spent a combined 8 years in the Blue Heron preschool, and Tony's leadership on the education committee, along with the leadership of a number of our other former trustees and supporters, were really instrumental in making that preschool happen, making that wonderful building happen. I don't think anyone who serves with Tony on the board was surprised when, after, what was it, 6 years of his chairmanship of the education committee, our capital campaign was called Education Matters, because Tony made sure that education stood front and center in everything that we did at the Science Center. And he has just had a remarkable impact on the Science Center and has really helped drive so many of the things that we've done and so many of the things that we've incorporated in the last 10 years. So thank you, Tony, for your wonderful service. It is appreciated, and we all hope you will continue to serve with us on the Education Committee. At that point, Sarah, shall I turn this over to you for our new officers and trustees?
Thanks, Justin. On behalf of the Governance and Nominating Committee, I am pleased to present to the membership 3 motions that we're going to ask you to approve this morning. The first is a motion to re-elect 3 current board members to additional 3-year terms. Justin Van Etten for a 3rd 3-year term. Thank you, Justin. Susan Lynch for a 2nd 3-year term. And Martha Grant also for a 2nd 3-year term. Thanks to you both for standing again. Is there a motion to approve and we can use hands? Is there a
So
second?
moved. Second. That's Emily.
Thank you, Emily. Any discussion? All those in favor, hands up.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you all, and again, thank you to these 3 wonderful board members. The second motion that we ask you to approve is the election of 4 new trustees to serve 3-year terms. They are Kathy Denius, Diane Garfield, Barbara Nan Grossman, and Dave Murphy. And their pictures are right there. Many of you know many of these wonderful people, and they're just a terrific group. And they're collectively, I think they're going to add a lot of strength to our current board in the areas of finance, philanthropy, excellence in volunteer service, and deep roots in this wonderful area and knowledge of the Science Center in particular over time. Now, in the materials that I know you've looked at extensively for this meeting, we had bios of all 4 of these wonderful people, and I commend them to you if you haven't looked at them already. Is there a motion to approve the election of these 4 new members?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signal aye with a hand or a thumbs up.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thanks to you all, and in particular, thanks to these 4 wonderful, wonderful new people. The final motion that I ask you to approve is to re-elect the following slate of officers to serve additional 1-year terms. Justin Van Etten, Chair, Sarah Brown, Vice Chair. I don't know if that's self-dealing or not. I'm a little uncomfortable. Ann Lovett, Treasurer, and Susan Lynch as Secretary. Is there a motion to approve those officers?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signal aye.
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 Opposed? Again, the motion carries, and thanks to you all so much. Justin, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I will hand it over to Ian to do the recognition of staff milestones.
Super. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. Like Justin, I wish we could all have been together, but I think it was the right decision to go virtual. And we move along fast. We'll be ripping through this. We'll be done by about 10 of 9 the way we're going right now. But anyway, I get to do some fun stuff now. I'm going to do the staff recognitions. We always celebrate our staff on 5-year milestones. So we go 5 years, 10 years, etc. And we have 5 staff that we're going to recognize today. Then I'm going to do the Horizon Award, which is always fun. And the recipient this year will be surprised. They don't know that they're going to receive this. And then I'll do a year in review that will also include a financial report from Brian Eaton, our finance director, who will join me in kind of walking through 2020 and looking at 2021 and sort of the transition from last year to this year. So that's what's coming up. But first of all, let me do the staff recognitions. We have 5 staff that we're celebrating this year for their 5 years of service. Aubrey Volker, who's our animal care training coordinator, has been with us for 5 years. Aubrey started out, I don't think she's on the call right now. Today, Saturday is one of her days when she's working. And so she's probably out on the trail looking after the animals, getting the trail open and ready for another busy day. They have long, long days in the animal care department. Aubrey actually started out as one of our interns before coming on as staff. And mentioning the interns, I should just say yesterday we said goodbye to our 2021 cohort of interns, and we had 5, 6, how many do we have? 6 or 7 just amazing young people here for the summer. It flies by and they're heading off to do amazing things and become amazing adults, or come back and join us. We have 2 or 3 of staff who've gone through our intern program and returned to become very valuable and long-term employees. Oh, I got to juggle a screen here because we got somebody trying to get in. I got to get out of one screen into another. Hang on one second. It's tough juggling these different, there we go. So congratulations to Aubrey. I think you've seen Aubrey in some of our videos that we did for the annual, for the gala, talking about our animal enrichment. And so congratulations to Aubrey for her 5 years with us. The next person that we need to celebrate is Amanda Gillen. I think Amanda might be on the call. Amanda has been with us for 10 years. Amanda is of course, our marketing manager, has done just an outstanding job, just taking our marketing, our social media presence, our publications to just a higher level. And so we're delighted to recognize Amanda's 10 years here. I also have to say she's a 3-time Blue Heron mom. Her 3 boys, we always love having the Roy boys around. You'll see them featured or often the backs of their heads in our marketing photographs. Amanda has 3 very, I wouldn't say willing, students, or what's the word I'm looking for, models for her photography out on the trails. So you'll often see the Roy boys popping up in her marketing materials. So congratulations to Amanda for 10 years and hopefully many more. Another 10-year celebration is for Jeremy Phillips. Again, you probably saw Jeremy. I know many of you have known Jeremy for a long time, but he also popped up in our videos for our gala as, of course, Jeremy Junko. One of the ways that we stretch out our staff, of course, is to clone them. So we do have 2 Jeremys on staff, and we're delighted to celebrate Jeremy's time as our naturalist. He also oversees, as I just mentioned, our intern program. He took over the coordination of the intern program when he earlier retired. So congratulations to Jeremy for his wonderful service to the Science Center. There he is with one of our saw-whet owls. And then who's up next? Let's see, I got to juggle back to a screen. I just let somebody in. So this is sort of strange to celebrate Dennis Capodestria for 15 years. We know that Dennis has been here for a lot longer than that, but the way we kind of celebrate these milestones is of continuous service in a particular position. So I guess Dennis must have left us, come back again, and he's been here in his current role for 15 years as our exhibits assistant. Of course, Dennis has been instrumental in so many of our exhibits on the facility staff. His beautiful furniture making, cabinet making has given us these wonderful, beautifully made exhibits. So celebrating 15 years of Dennis's service in his current role. I think he's probably been here closer to 25 or 30 years all told, with his various guises across the years. I don't think Dennis is with us today, but if you get a chance to see him, in fact, I know he's here working at the Science Center. He's here on Saturdays, so he too is opening up the trail right now, ready for another busy day. So congratulations to Dennis. And then our final celebration is an incredible milestone, and I think Tiggy is with us this morning. Margaret Gillespie, known to many of you as Tiggy, is celebrating 35 years here at the Science Center, which is just amazing. Of course, Tiggy has been one of our naturalists. She has taught countless thousands of kids and adults in programs all over the state here at the Science Center, as well as sharing her amazing writing. She's been doing the cover story of our newsletter for many, many years. And of course, we published a book of her writings when we celebrated our 50th anniversary in 2016. And so congratulations to Margaret for 35 amazing years here at the Science Center. I love that picture of Margaret. I think that's in her backyard down in Canterbury. So congratulations to Tiggy.
And on that note, Ian, there is actually one other milestone that we need to celebrate, which is your 15 years here at the Science Center. We are, those of us who are on the board are all thrilled that Ian has not only been with us for 15 years, but is also building, you know, a retirement home up in Sandwich. So we hope to keep him many, many more years. I mean, I know her as Margaret Moose, by the way, because that is her preschool name at the Blue Heron School. But, you know, she set the bar at 35 years, Ian. And if you could get just 20 more, we would all appreciate it. So thank you for your 15 years of service.
Well, thank you, Justin. Yeah, 15 years. It's flown by, but it's been a wonderful, wonderful 15 years. And yes, here's to 15 more. It's been a great ride. Never a dull moment at the Science Center, as we'll find out when we do the year in review in just a couple of minutes. So thank you. And thanks to all of our staff. I will just recognize all of the staff, not just the ones that we're celebrating their milestones, but this past year obviously has been a very challenging year for all of us. I have to say, we couldn't have done it without the amazing staff. Just everybody rallied around and you know, worked together so hard to get through what's been a very challenging year, and I think come out the other side of it just with flying colors. So hats off to our staff for their hard work and dedication all the time, whether they've been here for 35 years or 5 months. They're a fantastic group of people and doing great work. Now I get to do the Horizon Award, which is always kind of fun. So let me just read a little background on the Horizon Award. If you don't know what it is, the Board of Trustees of the Squam Lakes Natural Science Center established the Horizon Award in 1995 as a means to honor exceptional and extended service to the center. The following volunteers, staff, and trustees have been recognized over the years for their leadership, vision, passion, and commitment to our organization and its mission. Elizabeth Ford Wood, Dave Cody, Dennis Capodestria, Dave Erler, Steve Woodsum, Michael O'Leary, John McRae, Nancy Beck, Joan and Paul Mayerson, Carol Thompson, Alex Ray, Brenda Erler, Natalie Parsons, George Carr, Janet Robertson, Tasha Morgridge, Laurie Beeson, Tim Curry, Bruce Whitmore, Laura Mammarelli, and Lee Stewart. This year, I am delighted to present the Horizon Award to Margaret Gillespie. And I think Margaret's here, and I'm going to pop up another picture, and I've got to go back to another screen because I got to get somebody in here. There we go. Juggling back and forth here. Tiggy, Margaret Gillespie's connection to the Science Center began back in 1986 when she joined the staff as a naturalist. At the same time, she worked as the coordinator of New Hampshire Project Learning Tree for the next 11 years. Throughout her 35 years at the Science Center, she has inspired countless thousands of students and families while sharing her passion for the natural world through engaging and innovative educational experiences. Margaret has also reached an even larger audience through her writings. She's written the natural history column in the Tracks and Trails newsletter for more than 30 years. With much appreciation, August 21st, 2021, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, and the certificate that we have, I guess I do have a picture of it here, is framed and in my office, and it's signed by Justin on behalf of the Board of Trustees. And we'll be presenting that to Margaret. Obviously, we can't do that right now in the flesh, but hopefully Tiggy can make it to the staff meeting next Thursday, and we'll do it with all of the staff present in the coach room and award that to Margaret. So congratulations to Margaret. I don't know if she's here. Let me see if I can, let me unshare and see if we can find Tiggy somewhere. Let me stop that for a second. Where are you, Tiggy? Oh, there she is. Let's see, can I pin you up there or something? Can I highlight? Let's see, spotlight for everyone. There you go. There you are, Margaret. Congratulations.
Well done, Tiggy.
We can just, we'll get you in person at the staff meeting on Thursday, but thank you for all your years of service and congratulations on joining that august body of folks who've received the Horizon Award. There'll also be the little plaque. Your name will be added to the plaque in the coach room with everybody else. So well done, Tiggy. Thanks so much. Let's see if I can remove spotlight. Okay, let me go back to sharing my screen here for the continuation of the presentation. Okay, so now what's next? Oh yeah, the 2020 in review. Let me go back to this screen here. and move along. So 2020 will always have a big asterisk next to it. It's always been, it will always be known as the COVID year. Let me admit somebody here. So let me kind of walk you through kind of what 2020 looked like for all of us. Many of you know kind of what we were facing. Of course, we were all going through a very strange year, but we always do this little, Amanda puts this together, our by the numbers graphic that kind of describes the year. We had 35, even with not opening until the middle of June. We were delayed in being able to open the trail for 6 weeks last year. So June 15th, we were finally able to open. And we were able to welcome 35,000 people to the trail, a large percentage non-members, so almost 28,000 of those folks were non-members. That sounds like a big number, but as you'll see when we compare it to the previous year and sort of what our trends have been, it was a significant decline, basically 50% of the numbers of people that we welcomed the year before. Now, of course, we were coming off a record year of 2019 when the dinosaurs were here, but anyway, it was a significant hit. We still managed to welcome over 3,000 people on the lake cruises. We were able to bring back some volunteers, significantly reduced the number of positions that we were able to offer to our volunteers. Of course, we moved into doing a lot of virtual programs, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And the most important statistic, I think you remember, if you saw this graphic for 2019, we measured the number of miles of toilet paper we used. Well, in 2020, we counted the number of gallons of hand sanitizer. So 23 gallons of hand sanitizer used during the course of the year on the trail. Who knew we'd be monitoring number of gallons of hand sanitizer? Here's kind of the graphics of what that looks like. So you can see for school programs, basically non-existent. We just dropped off the map. All of our school programs stopped here at the Science Center. Of course, we did have a little uptick compared to previous years of the number of programs at schools. Now, when we say at schools, that means we were remote, generally presenting in the school, usually via Zoom, rather than the schools coming here. So a significant change, obviously, from one year to the next. Outreach programs also down significantly. Obviously, again, we were not on the road going out to libraries and doing presentations all around the state. Guided Discoveries, that's our summer day camp program. We group that in the way that we track these on one of our matrix with the Blue Heron School. Obviously, we still had Blue Heron activity, but Guided Discoveries really did not happen in 2020. Natural Adventures way down, various events, lake cruises, you can see pretty much everything across the board significantly down compared to previous years. Trail visitation, significantly down, as I mentioned, coming off 2019 when we had a record year, almost 72,000 people visited the trail. Here we are, about 35,000 people that came and visited us in 2020. So quite a significant drop. And this is kind of what 2020 looked like. Programs at a distance. Here's Josh, one of our naturalists, doing a program with a turkey vulture. And of course, people sitting back 6 feet away with masks on in small groups. We didn't use the amphitheater. We didn't do what we call our mini talks. These were sort of pop-up programs that we created along the trail where the family groups could come and interact with the naturalist and then move along. Of course, everything went virtual. I think that's one of the Roy boys, the back of his head there, one of Amanda's photographs. And that looks like Audrey doing a presentation on Zoom with one of our snakes. And so, again, naturalists had to kind of learn how to do programs in a very, very different way from what they were used to. And believe it or not, we even went virtual with the Blue Heron School. This is a photograph of learning happening via Zoom with our Blue Heron staff. But they checked in with the kids every morning. We had a graduating class of, I think it was 7 kindergartners that had to graduate. And so they continued to get their lesson plans sent home. They continued to check in with the teachers every day via Zoom. Hats off to the staff for being able, you know what it's like to juggle a Zoom meeting with adults. You can imagine doing it with 3, 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. is quite a feat, but somehow they managed to keep things going in the school. And hats off to them, and hats off to the parents for getting the kids up and getting them hooked up to Zoom every morning and working through. Here's Eric. You know, Eric's been with us a long time doing programs, and here he is now learning about lights and gimbals and screens and blue screens, and you know, having to do things remotely. He's there, looks like he's got the sharp-shinned hawk on his wrist there, doing a presentation to a school, who knows where, across the state. So it was a very different year, but we adapted. We got the equipment we needed. We set up a studio instead of a classroom, and we presented as many programs as we could, as best we could. A few more on the statistics. I'm going to hand it over to Brian now. Brian Eaton is our finance director, who obviously all of you know, and Brian's going to kind of walk through some of the financial aspects of 2020. And then we'll transition into talking about how things are going in 2021. Over to you, Brian.
Thank you, Ian, and thanks to everybody for tuning in this morning. We're moving along so quickly. I'll try not to slow us down, but we did want to highlight a few significant items that occurred during 2020. And as Ian mentioned and showed on the graphic, our trail attendance was about 50% of what we did in 2019. And in turn, that brought all of our program revenues down 90% program revenues. Overall earned revenue was a whopping $946,000 below budget. However, contributions, thanks to all of our wonderful supporters, ended up $107,000 over budget. We also applied for and received a little over $720,000 in Federal CARES Act dollars. A big chunk of that was the PPP loan, which became a grant once it was forgiven, and also other CARES Act dollars that were administered through the New Hampshire Center for Nonprofits. All that, along with tightening our belts, because as we realized last March that we weren't going to be able to open on time, and that we were probably going to have a significant reduction in our revenues. The staff really did a wonderful job of just tightening the belt. We said, okay, we're not going to spend anything we don't need. We ended up, spending a good chunk on hand sanitizer and things like that, and some modifications to the trail. But overall, we were able to reduce expenses by about $250,000, which allowed our operating fund to end up with a modest surplus at the end of the year. So really, if you want to call it a success, I think that's appropriate because, again, going into the spring and summer last year, we were looking at, as Ian and I called them, kind of doomsday models of what happens if we can't open at all. How do we manage to keep staff? And probably the biggest highlight of all is that we were able to get through the year without having to lay off or furlough any of our terrific staff members. And they all really, just to reiterate what Justin and Ian have said before, they really went above and beyond. From our animal care and facilities folks, they never changed their regular work schedule. In fact, even had to step it up because a lot of us were working remotely, but obviously they had to be there to take care of the animals, take care of the facility, continue to work on the new raptor exhibit. So I'm really proud to be a member of this staff and for everything they did during the year. Ian, we can move on to the next slide if you'd like. Here is just a snapshot of what you will find in our annual report, which is now available on our website. And this is a condensed snapshot of the entire Science Center operations. So not just the day-to-day operations of admissions and all that, but it includes the activity for our capital campaign as well as other restricted funds. So I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I do encourage you all to check out the annual report. There are a handful of paper copies available at the office that Janet can provide to you. Also on our website is our 2020 audited financial statements. And though that is a tough read, I will say that, but it's worth digging into because it has a wealth of information and details about our financial condition. Also on the website are our 990 tax returns for 2020. So I'd encourage everybody, if you get a chance and you need a little extra summer reading to get through the rest of the year, to check those out. And if you have any questions, please contact me at the Science Center. I'm happy to get into the details with you a little bit more. And then we have one more slide, as Ian started to hint on, is that 2021, we've actually had an excellent, what I'd call rebound year. We were probably more conservative back in January through March when we were developing the annual budget, because there were still a lot of unknowns. The COVID numbers were still pretty terrible, but we knew that we were going to be able to at least open. We were able to increase our capacities so that we could welcome more guests. We were able to get more folks out on the cruises. Retail has just done an amazing job with challenges. They've had difficulties getting stuff into the store, but as soon as everything comes in, it's been selling. So you can see kind of down the line the increase, and this is comparing January through July of 2020 with 2021. The first line is a little misleading. Our contributions are down year to date because last year in March, all of our supporters came through as we went out with an early annual appeal to help us with cash flow concerns as we tried to get through the period of time we weren't open. So that looks a little odd, but as you can really see, the rest of the numbers, admissions, $248,000 over what we were able to do the same period last year. And that trend obviously has continued, and our current attendance through yesterday was a little over 46,000 folks on the trail. And again, that compares to the 35,000 that we had last year. The end result is we've got about a little over $500,000 in additional revenue compared to what we had last year. So just an amazing rebound and a show of support by all of our supporters and guests. So we're really pleased at our performance so far this year. And if the weather can hold out, we will probably continue to have pretty good numbers. And if we stay on track, we could still have a top 3 or 4 in terms of attendance for the year, which would really be amazing, and just a sign of the strength that the Science Center has and how well liked and respected we are in the community. So that's about it. I'm happy to entertain questions, although probably to keep things moving along. If you do have any that I can help you with, you can again contact me at the Science Center, and happy to go into more detail. But thank you all for your support and for joining us this morning.
Great, thank you, Brian. Does anyone have any pressing questions for Brian? If not, I will continue on kind of the review and transition into 2021. Okay, hearing none, let's move along. Here's kind of looking at the trends. So this is trail admission, looking back as far as 2008, and you can see we had been on this really nice steady increase every year. Little fluctuations up and downs here and there, but generally a nice continuous upward trend line. And then 2020 happened when everything fell off. This is breaking out. The 3 colors are blue is May, the reddish sort of brick color is June, and then green is July. And so you can kind of get a sense, this is through the end of July, the sort of numbers of visitors that we welcomed. And so far, 2021 has been outstanding. The combination of May and June together we saw more people in those 2 months than we had seen in any other May and June before that. July was the second highest number of visitors we've ever had, only eclipsed by the dinosaur year in 2019. And so far, August has been pretty steady. I don't think we're going to break any records for August because it's been very hot and sticky, and we that really impacts our numbers. But certainly very steady. A lot of days when we're seeing 800, 900 people a day, that sounds like a lot of people, but it's really very manageable. One of the benefits, if you can call it that, of sort of transitioning and changing our practices in COVID was the timed ticketing. For years, on busy, crazy days when we'd see 900 people or even over 1,000 people showing up, we would say, boy, wouldn't it be nice if we could, kind of spread people out over the day rather than have everybody show up between 9:30 and 12:30 and all of us running around parking people like crazy. And so that's one of the benefits, is now we can control the numbers of people coming through. They're spread out through the day. And we've had several days where we've hit 900 and we've gone, that piece of cake, that was no problem. So I think that's something we'll continue to do. It won't be, an absolute requirement. People can still walk in, but at least it gives us some sense or some ability to kind of spread out the load throughout the day. So that's definitely been a benefit. So 2021 so far, as Brian mentioned, the numbers has been very, very successful. I think people are just clamoring to get out to do some fun stuff outdoors. They feel safe here. Obviously, most of our exhibits are outdoors. It's very much an outdoor experience. And so I think we've been able to give people a really fun family activity, as ever, in a very safe way. One of the highlights of this year is the opening of our new Raptor exhibit. If you haven't had a chance to check out the Raptor exhibit, it's really been popular, and just a lovely, lovely, lovely addition. Here's our amazing owl sound dishes, if you haven't checked those out. This is a great, to me, it's sort of a classic example of the type of exhibitry that we're able to do, the creativity of our education staff, then working with our facility staff to come up with this concept that in a very simple way demonstrates the incredible hearing of owls. So we all know owls have those round faces, and the reason they have those round faces, all those feathering around their faces, is that those feathers are designed to funnel sound to their ears, which are tucked in behind their eyes, little cavities in the side of their skulls. And so that feathering sort of amplifies the sound towards those ears. And this is just a very simple demonstration. These two large parabolas that are set 60 feet apart. You can sit in one and have somebody else sit in the other and whisper back and forth. And the sound amplifies from where you're speaking out, and then the other person sitting at the other end has got these huge parabolas behind them. And it's really just a very simple, a lot of people think there has to be speakers, there's got to be electronics, and it's just the geometry, the acoustics of these amazing little devices. So anyway, really a fun exhibit. People love it. And it's really a cool way to talk about animal adaptations. These beautiful buildings, custom made for the birds. Of course, the usual viewing windows where people can get to see the raptors. Here's the turkey vulture loving its new quarters, stretching out his wings to bathe in the sun. Turkey vultures love the sun, and they will find where the sun is and turn their back towards it to kind of sunbathe and warm themselves up. The bald eagles just looking fantastic. For whatever reason, I guess people feel like they're closer to the eagles than they were in the old exhibit. And I hear a lot of people saying, just amazed at how huge they are. So it's really nice. The birds, I have to say, are very relieved to be out in their lovely new quarters. The giant, now, Sarah, these are not dinosaur eggs, but if you want to call them dinosaur eggs, that's fine. These are designed to be, supposed to be giant peregrine falcon eggs. Here in our Raptor exhibit, but again, just a simple, kids can climb inside the eggs and pretend they're hatching out, and just have some fun with these beautifully made eggs. And of course, the highlight, everyone has to try out the zip line, the migration flyway. There's more interpretation that's coming that will talk about migration, and kids can pretend to be going from north to south and south to north. Back again in the spring. Here's Audrey. Everybody had to try out the zip line when it first arrived. Here's Audrey putting it through its paces. But again, kids just love it. Adults love it too. So it's a really fun addition to the trail. And so, really 2021 has been a rebound year. We're back doing what we're best at, which is, getting people nearer to nature. And I always love this photograph. It just exemplifies what we do. This little girl having an amazing experience up close and personal with one of our mountain lions. And so I'm going to finish there, and would be happy to take any questions if you have them. And I'll stop sharing so we can see each other here. Okay, any questions from anybody? I see something in the chat here. Let me quickly check. Oh, I see. It was just, yeah, somebody put the, probably Janet put the link in for the annual report and the financial statements. If you look in the chat line, you can click on that and that'll go to our support page where you can see those publications. Any questions from everyone? I know you're just eager to get out and enjoy this beautiful day, so we can keep things moving along, and I'll hand it back to Justin.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you all for joining us. Before we let you guys run off to the lake, I just want to, in closing, take a few minutes and on behalf of the entire board, thank Ian, our staff, and our volunteers for the remarkable, I taking notes in terms of what they've accomplished and Ian discussing it, but in hindsight, it's really crazy when you think about what they've done to make us successful the last 18 months. There were months in April and May where we didn't know we were going to reopen at all last year. And everybody was trying to do their jobs virtually, including our naturalists, which, you know, it's funny when nearer to nature means setting up computer screens and doing Zoom sessions for kids. But that's the world that we lived in. And I heard from so many of the schools what a phenomenal job our naturalists did. And being on Zoom is not something I suspect that comes naturally to our naturalists. And then when we reopened, I mean, I think we all remember you, Ian, and so many members of the staff being out at the gate doing symptomatic checks for all of our visitors and making sure everybody was masked and dealing with people who didn't want to wear masks. You know, it was an incredibly stressful time last spring and summer, and all of the staff did a phenomenal job. I heard last year, I've heard this year so many times how safe people feel being at the Science Center. The number of times that we've asked people to pivot, I mean, even with the PPP loans, Ian, with you and Brian last year, when I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a lot of speculation that the program was going to run out of money in the first 20 minutes. And so Brian and Ian spent days making sure our application was absolutely spot on, and then staying up until 2 in the morning to get it submitted to make sure that that PPP grant money came through. The preschool, I mean, I love the preschool. God love them for trying to manage a preschool virtually, but they did it. And I'm amazed at how many parents told me that their kids actually looked forward to and enjoyed their virtual sessions on the preschool. And then perhaps most challenging, most of you are up here this summer. I suspect all of you might be up here this summer. Every business in New Hampshire, every business in the Lakes region specifically, is experiencing ridiculously short-staffed. It's hard. Every visitor attraction throughout the state is operating on limited numbers. And we're going to have close to a record year, and you guys have managed this without stress, without worry. It is really unbelievable how phenomenal a job everybody that works at the Science Center, or volunteers at the Science Center, has done this year. So I feel like you guys have a list that's 16 pages long of how long, or of everything that you guys did to benefit the Science Center. I feel like the one thing that the board did, and I know, Brian, you touched on it, is we never laid anyone off. And in hindsight, I mean, you saw the drop in our demand. We are sort of a business at the end of the day, and our business was down, what, 65, 70%. And most businesses last year were laying people off. And the board looked at it and said, no, we're not. And I think that's the only reason we've been as successfully as we are, because you guys have just been unbelievable. And I'm being reminded while I'm talking, I didn't even remember that we closed up a capital campaign in the middle of the pandemic and everything else, and our 6 feet of distancing. You guys even managed to wrap that up. And thank you so much to Ken Evans for doing that, sincerely. But it is unbelievable when you look back at the last 18 years, just everything that everyone has done to make this place so darn successful. So from the entire board, thank you so much. We are really very grateful. Any questions? I noticed one more chat thing pop up here. Great job, everyone. Yes, absolutely. Great job to all the staff. Any questions, anything anyone wants to bring up before we let you all back to the lake? No, everybody wants to get back to the lake. I don't blame them. Well, then thank you all for joining us this morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the Science Center last year. Thank you for continuing to support the Science Center. I hope everybody has a wonderful morning here before the storm comes in and gets to spend a little time out on the lake. Thank you all.
Take care, everybody. Thanks so much.